Close your eyes. Let your shoulders drop and let your breath find a slow, rhythmic pace. In and out. Allow the noise of the present day to fade into the background, becoming nothing more than a distant hum. We are about to embark on a journey, not across space but through time, drifting back to an era when the night was truly dark and the silence of the world was vast and deep. We begin tonight not with a date but with a feeling. It is the feeling of winter settling quietly over the land. The air grows still, days shorten, nights lengthen. Across continents and centuries, human beings pause during this time of year, sensing that something important is happening, even if they cannot yet put it into words. The sun seems to hesitate in the sky, rising late and setting early as if resting. In this shared moment of darkness and expectation, the long story of Christmas begins. As we drift gently into the past, we find that Christmas is not born suddenly, nor does it emerge fully formed. Instead, it grows slowly, shaped by countless cultures, beliefs, and seasonal rhythms. Long before churches, carols, or decorated trees, ancient communities mark the turning of the year with quiet rituals and communal gatherings. These early winter festivals are not celebrations of excess, but responses to uncertainty. Food is scarce. Cold presses in. Survival depends on cooperation, memory, and hope. In this story, we explore Christmas not as a single holiday, but as a long journey. It is a journey that begins with the movements of the sun, continues through ancient myth and ritual, and gradually enters the spiritual life of early Christianity. Over time, it travels across Europe, adapting to local customs, languages, and landscapes. Eventually, it crosses the Atlantic, taking root in early American society, where older traditions blend with new environments. Throughout this journey, we move slowly and carefully. This is not a story of loud proclamation, but of quiet continuity. We focus on how ordinary people experience the season, how they light fires, prepare meals, tell stories, and mark time. We notice architecture shaped for warmth, clothing made for long nights, and calendars built around natural cycles. We allow the past to unfold at its own pace. Our approach tonight is gentle and reflective. We speak in the present tense, so history feels close and immediate, as if we are walking through it together. When we encounter unfamiliar terms or practices, we pause to explain them clearly, without haste. Each section ends not with a conclusion, but with a soft landing, a moment designed to let the mind relax and drift. Christmas, as we will see, is never only about one belief system. It is a shared human response to winter itself. It carries themes of light returning, community enduring, and time renewing. These themes appear again and again, even as names, symbols, and stories change. By tracing them carefully, we begin to understand why Christmas feels both ancient and familiar, even to those who do not observe it religiously. Tonight's journey is chronological. We begin with the deep past, where astronomy and agriculture shape human life. We move through the winter festivals of ancient Europe, including Roman, Norse, and Celtic traditions. We then observe how early Christianity interprets and reshapes these customs, creating a new framework of meaning. Finally, we approach the early American world, where Christmas settles into a quieter, more domestic form. As you listen, there is no need to remember every detail. This is learning designed for rest. Let the images pass gently. Let the timelines blur where they wish. If your attention drifts, that is perfectly natural. History has waited centuries. It does not mind if you fall asleep. Imagine now a slow walk backward through time. The modern world fades. Electric light dims. Printed calendars disappear. We are left with sky, land, and the steady rhythm of seasons. Winter arrives, as it always does, and people, as they always have, gather close to warmth and to one another. With that image held softly in mind, we begin our first chapter, where the story of Christmas starts not with a birth, but with the sun itself. Before we begin tonight's story, take a gentle moment to support the channel. If these stories help you relax, please like this video and subscribe for more peaceful nights. And in the comments, tell me where you're listening from and what time it is in your world. Your presence here means more than you know. We stand now in a world without clocks as we know them. Time is measured not by minutes, but by light and darkness, by planting and harvest, by cold and warmth. In this ancient winter world, survival depends on understanding the sky. The movement of the sun is not an abstract concept, it is life itself. As winter approaches, communities notice the days growing shorter. Shadows lengthen. Frost appears on fields once green with grain. The sun rises later each morning, tracing a lower path across the sky. For early agricultural societies, this change brings both fear and reverence. Crops are already stored, animals are slaughtered or sheltered. What remains is waiting. At the heart of this waiting is the winter solstice. The term solstice comes from Latin words meaning sun standing still. Around this time, the sun appears to pause in its southward movement. For several days, sunrise and sunset seem unchanged. Then slowly, almost imperceptibly, the days begin to lengthen again. To ancient observers, this moment is profound. It suggests renewal. The sun, which seemed to be weakening, regains strength. Light begins its return. Across cultures, this turning point becomes sacred time. In Northern Europe, where winters are long and dark, the solstice carries particular weight. Communities gather indoors, often in large wooden halls built to retain heat. Fires burn continuously, both for warmth and symbolism. Fire represents life, protection, and continuity. Ashes are carefully preserved, sometimes believed to hold protective qualities for the household. Food plays a central role. Animals that cannot be fed through winter are slaughtered in late autumn, and their meat is preserved. The solstice becomes a time to share these resources communally. Feasting is not indulgence, it is practical and ritualized. Eating together reinforces social bonds at a time when isolation could be deadly. In the Roman world, winter festivals take on elaborate forms. Saturnalia, held in honor of the god Saturn, unfolds in mid-December. During this period, normal social rules relax. Masters serve servants. Small gifts are exchanged. Public life slows. Though often remembered as lively, Saturnalia also carries themes of remembrance and cyclical time. Saturn is associated with a mythic golden age, a past era of abundance and equality. As we observe Saturnalia, we notice patterns that will later echo in Christmas traditions. Decorated spaces, gift-giving, suspension of routine, and communal joy during winter's darkest days. Yet these practices are not religious in the later Christian sense. They are social, seasonal, and symbolic. Further north, among Germanic and Norse peoples, winter is marked by Yule. Yule is not a single day but a season, often lasting several weeks. It centers on honoring ancestors, spirits, and gods associated with fertility and protection. Evergreen plants, which remain green through winter, are brought indoors. Their presence symbolizes endurance and life continuing beneath the snow. The Yule log becomes an important symbol. A large piece of wood is burned slowly over many days. Its fire is believed to ward off darkness and misfortune. Sparks from the log are sometimes counted or interpreted as signs of future prosperity. Even after the log burns down, its remains may be kept for protection. In these societies, storytelling flourishes during winter. Oral traditions carry history, law, and identity. Long nights provide time to listen. Stories of gods, heroes, and ancestors are told by firelight, their rhythm steady and repetitive. Memory becomes communal, reinforced through ritual and narration. The Celts of Western Europe observe their own winter markers. While Samhain in late autumn signals the boundary between seasons, the deep winter period is quieter. It is a time of inward focus, when agricultural labor pauses. Sacred groves and natural features such as springs and stones hold spiritual significance. Offerings are made not in expectation of immediate reward, but to maintain balance with unseen forces. Across all these cultures, a common pattern emerges. Winter is not celebrated because it is pleasant. It is honored because it is dangerous and transformative. Festivals do not deny hardship. They acknowledge it and respond with structure, meaning, and community. Architecture reflects this mindset. Homes are built low and compact, with thick walls. Windows are small, conserving heat. Central hearths dominate interior space. The hearth is both practical and symbolic, serving as the heart of the household. Around it, families eat, work, and sleep. Clothing is layered and heavy, made from wool, fur, and leather. Garments are often repaired rather than replaced, carrying the marks of time and use. Even clothing participates in continuity, linking past seasons to the present. In this ancient winter world, there is no concept of Christmas, but the foundations are already laid. The themes of light returning, social equality, gift exchange, evergreen symbolism, and communal meals are firmly in place. These elements exist independently of any single religion. They are responses to shared human conditions. As centuries pass, these winter practices do not disappear. Instead, they adapt. When new belief systems arise, they often absorb existing customs rather than erase them. This process is gradual and subtle, occurring not through decree, but through lived experience. We pause here, beside an ancient hearth. Outside, the wind moves through bare branches. Inside, the fire glows steadily. People sit close, sharing warmth and stories. They are not thinking of the future as we know it, yet they are shaping it all the same. As we let this image settle, the mind can rest in the steady rhythm of flame and shadow. The world is cold, but it is held together by ritual, memory, and light waiting to return. And as we drift onward through the centuries, we carry these ancient winter traditions with us, ready to see how they slowly transform into something both familiar and new. As we drift quietly forward in time, the ancient winter world begins to change. Empires rise and fall, roads stretch across continents, languages mingle, beliefs travel with merchants, soldiers, and storytellers. Among these beliefs is a growing religious movement that begins in the Eastern Mediterranean, shaped by Jewish tradition and Roman rule. This movement will eventually become Christianity, and with it comes a new way of understanding time, light, and sacred history. In the earliest centuries of Christianity, there is no celebration of Christmas. The life of Jesus is remembered primarily through his teachings, his death, and his resurrection. These events are central, while his birth remains unmarked by formal ritual. Early Christian communities focus on spiritual preparation rather than calendrical celebration. Time is measured by fasting and prayer, not festivals. Yet the world around these communities continues to mark the winter solstice. Pagan festivals persist. Fires burn. Evergreens are gathered. The return of light remains meaningful to everyone, regardless of belief. Slowly, Christian thinkers begin to reflect on how their theology speaks to this shared human experience. Light becomes a central metaphor. In Christian texts, Jesus is described as the light of the world. This phrase carries deep resonance in a society that lives closely with darkness. Winter nights are long. Oil lamps are precious. Light is fragile and valuable. To speak of divine light is to speak in a language everyone understands. By the 3rd and 4th centuries, Christian leaders begin to consider marking the birth of Jesus with a feast day. The exact date of his birth is unknown. The Gospels offer no clear seasonal clues. This uncertainty creates space for symbolic choice rather than historical precision. December 25th gradually emerges as a favored date in parts of the Roman world. This date is close to the winter solstice according to the Roman calendar. It also coincides with existing festivals honoring the sun, including the celebration of Sol Invictus, the unconquered sun. Rather than competing directly, Christianity absorbs and reinterprets these themes. In this process, older symbols are not erased. They are reframed. The returning sun becomes the spiritual light entering the world. The long night becomes a time of waiting and anticipation. The promise of renewal shifts from agricultural cycles to moral and spiritual restoration. This blending happens quietly. There is no single moment when Christmas is declared universal. Practices vary by region. In some areas, the birth of Jesus is celebrated alongside Epiphany, a feast marking divine revelation. In others, it is observed modestly, without public spectacle. Architecture begins to reflect this evolving sacred calendar. Churches are built with attention to light. Windows are placed to catch the low winter sun. Mosaics and frescoes depict scenes of birth and illumination. Gold backgrounds shimmer in candlelight, suggesting radiance beyond the material world. Music enters the season gradually. Early hymns are simple and repetitive, designed for communal singing rather than performance. Their melodies are steady, allowing voices to blend. Singing becomes another way to carry light through darkness, using breath and memory rather than flame. Daily life during this period remains shaped by winter realities. Fields lie fallow, travel slows, households gather indoors. Religious observance fits into these rhythms rather than replacing them. The sacred is woven into ordinary routines. The concept of incarnation, meaning the divine taking human form, becomes central. This idea emphasizes humility and closeness rather than power. The birth story is told not in palaces but in modest settings. This imagery resonates with winter's simplicity, when excess is impossible and essentials matter most. As Christianity spreads northward into Europe, it encounters cultures already rich with winter's symbolism. Missionaries do not arrive in empty landscapes. They enter worlds where evergreen branches already signify life, where feasting already marks survival, where storytelling already fills long nights. Rather than abolishing these practices, Christian communities adapt them. Evergreens are associated with eternal life. Feasts become occasions for charity. Storytelling incorporates biblical narratives alongside older tales. This process is uneven and gradual, unfolding over generations. By the early medieval period, Christmas begins to take on a recognizable shape. It is still quieter than later celebrations, but its themes are established. Light, humility, community, and hope come together in a season that feels both ancient and newly meaningful. As we rest with this chapter, imagine a small stone church in a winter village. Snow rests on the roof. Inside, candles flicker. Voices rise gently in song. Outside, the night is deep and cold, but within, there is warmth and shared presence. Let that image soften the mind. The story continues, carried forward by people who blend old rhythms with new meanings, creating a tradition that grows without losing its roots. We move now into the medieval world, a landscape of villages, forests, and slowly turning seasons. Life is local. Most people live within a few miles of where they are born. The year is shaped by agriculture, and winter remains a time of both hardship and rest. Christmas in this period is not a single day, but a season. It unfolds over 12 days, beginning on December 25th and ending with Epiphany. This extended observance allows for gradual celebration rather than sudden intensity. Work pauses, courts close, fields lie quiet, homes are decorated modestly. Evergreen branches are brought inside, not for display, but for their scent and symbolism. Candles are placed carefully, conserved against long nights. Light is still precious, and its use is deliberate. Food is prepared slowly. Bread is baked in communal ovens. Meat, salted earlier in the year, is cooked for shared meals. Spices, rare and expensive, appear in small amounts, signaling festivity. These flavors linger in memory long after the meal ends. Social roles soften during this season. Feasts bring together different ranks. Lords and peasants share space, if not equality. Games and performances offer moments of laughter. These customs echo older winter festivals, now framed within Christian meaning. Church services anchor the season. Midnight Mass becomes a focal point, drawing communities together in darkness before dawn. The timing itself is symbolic, marking the transition from night to day, from waiting to arrival. Medieval art reflects these themes. Illuminated manuscripts depict the Nativity with careful detail. Folded cloth, animal breath in cold air, starlight against dark skies. These images are not abstract. They place the sacred firmly within the material world. Music grows more complex but remains gentle. Carols emerge as vernacular songs, sung outside formal liturgy. Their melodies are repetitive and soothing, easy to remember. They travel from village to village, carrying shared stories. Winter storytelling continues alongside religious observance. Tales of saints, miracles, and moral lessons are told by firelight. These stories coexist with older folklore, creating a layered narrative world where past and present blend. Architecture during this time balances defense and warmth. Thick walls protect against both cold and conflict. Interiors are dim, lit by fire and candle. This environment shapes how Christmas is experienced: inward, intimate, and communal. As Christianity becomes more established, church leaders sometimes attempt to regulate celebration, discouraging excess or disorder, yet popular customs persist. People continue to sing, feast, and gather, adapting rules to lived reality. The medieval Christmas is not uniform. Practices vary widely across regions. Northern climates emphasize hearth and hall. Southern regions focus more on outdoor processions and light. Yet the underlying rhythm is shared. This is a season that teaches patience. The celebration unfolds slowly, mirroring the gradual return of daylight after the solstice. There is no rush. Time itself seems to move differently in winter. As we pause at the close of this chapter, imagine a village at rest. Snow softens sound. Smoke rises from chimneys. Inside, people sit close, listening to familiar stories. The world feels held, suspended between past and future. Let this stillness settle. The journey continues, carrying medieval traditions forward toward new lands and new interpretations, always shaped by winter's quiet power. As we drift further along the centuries, the medieval world slowly transforms. Trade expands. Printing presses spread ideas with new speed. Religious authority, once largely unified, begins to fracture. This period, often called the early modern era, brings profound changes to how people think about faith, community, and ritual. Christmas, too, feels these shifts. The Protestant Reformation introduces new attitudes toward religious celebration. Reformers question practices they see as excessive or unsupported by Scripture. Saints' days are reduced, elaborate rituals are simplified. The calendar itself becomes a subject of debate. In this climate, Christmas no longer feels universally secure. In some regions, Christmas remains warmly observed. In others, it becomes subdued or even discouraged. The concern is not winter itself, but what celebration represents. Feasting, music, and role reversal are sometimes viewed as distractions from inward devotion. The older communal joy of the season is re-examined through a moral lens. Yet winter does not change. The cold still arrives. Nights remain long. Families still gather indoors. Even where public celebration is restrained, private customs persist. Hearths continue to glow. Meals are still shared. Evergreen branches are still brought inside, if quietly. This shift moves Christmas closer to the home. The household becomes the primary space of observance. Reading, prayer, and reflection replace public spectacle. The season becomes inward rather than outward, shaped by discipline and order. Architecture reflects this emphasis. Homes grow slightly larger and more private. Separate rooms appear. Windows improve, allowing more light during the day. Yet winter evenings are still dominated by firelight, creating intimate spaces for family life. In regions influenced by Puritan thought, particularly in parts of England, Christmas is treated cautiously. Some communities attempt to suppress it altogether, viewing it as a remnant of older, unregulated traditions. Shops remain open, ordinary work continues, the day passes without formal acknowledgement. Even so, memory persists. Songs are remembered if not sung publicly. Recipes are prepared discreetly. Stories are told within families. Cultural practices rarely vanish entirely. They retreat and wait. Elsewhere in Europe, Christmas adapts rather than disappears. In Catholic regions, it remains more ceremonial, though shaped by reform within the church itself. Nativity scenes become popular, emphasizing humility and domesticity. These scenes often resemble contemporary homes, making sacred history feel immediate and familiar. Gift-giving continues but remains modest. Objects are practical: clothing, tools, books. The emphasis is on usefulness rather than abundance. This restraint aligns naturally with winter scarcity. Time during this era feels carefully managed. Calendars are printed and distributed. Dates matter more. Yet Christmas still stretches across days rather than hours. The 12 days remain a gentle frame, allowing rest and gradual return to work. As we sit with this chapter, imagine a quiet winter evening in an early modern home. The fire burns low. A book rests open. Outside, the world is hushed. Celebration, if present, is subdued and thoughtful. Let the calm of this restrained season settle the mind. Christmas endures not through noise but through continuity, carried quietly from hearth to hearth as the world prepares for further change. We now follow Christmas across the ocean, carried by settlers leaving Europe for North America. They bring with them memories, customs, and beliefs shaped by their homelands. Yet the new world they enter is different in climate, scale, and possibility. Christmas must adapt once more. Early American colonies are diverse. Some are founded by those seeking religious freedom, others by commercial interests. Attitudes toward Christmas vary accordingly. In Puritan New England, public celebration is discouraged. December 25th passes as an ordinary day. Work continues. The focus remains on discipline and spiritual seriousness. In contrast, other colonies observe Christmas more openly. In regions influenced by Dutch, German, and Anglican traditions, winter festivities persist. Feasts are held, hymns are sung. The season retains its communal character, though shaped by frontier realities. Life in early America is demanding. Settlements are small. Winters are harsh. Survival requires cooperation. In this environment, Christmas often becomes a practical pause, a time to rest, repair tools, and share limited resources. Homes are simple, built from wood and stone. Fireplaces dominate interior space. Families gather close, mirroring ancient winter patterns. The hearth once again becomes central, linking the new world to old traditions. Gift-giving remains modest. Handmade objects, food, and small tokens are exchanged. The act matters more than the object. This simplicity reinforces the season's reflective tone. Storytelling flourishes. Long evenings invite recollection of Europe and imagination of the future. Biblical stories mingle with memories of older customs. Christmas becomes a bridge between worlds. Over time, as colonies grow and stabilize, Christmas slowly re-emerges in public life. Newspapers mention it. Churches hold services. The season becomes more visible, though still restrained compared to later centuries. What endures is the core rhythm: winter pause, communal warmth, and hope for renewal. These elements transcend doctrine and geography. They anchor Christmas in shared human experience. As this chapter closes, imagine an early American settlement at dusk. Snow lies on rough paths, light glows from windows. Inside, families sit quietly, warmed by fire and familiarity. The journey of Christmas continues, shaped by adaptation and memory. Let this image rest gently in the mind, preparing us for the final chapter, where legacy and meaning come together. As we enter the final chapter of our journey, Christmas stands at a crossroads between past and future. It has crossed continents, absorbed beliefs, and adapted to new environments, yet it remains rooted in something far older than doctrine or calendar. It is anchored in the human response to winter, to darkness, and to the hope of light returning. In early America, Christmas does not yet resemble the modern holiday. There are no elaborate public displays, no commercial rhythms, no standardized customs shared by all. Instead, there is variety. Each community shapes the season according to its values, climate, and memory. What unites these experiences is their quietness. Christmas is intimate, domestic, and reflective. Churches observe the season with restraint. Services focus on humility rather than spectacle. Sermons emphasize moral renewal, patience, and gratitude. The birth narrative is told slowly, often without dramatic embellishment. This approach allows listeners to sit with the story rather than react to it. In homes, Christmas continues to center on the hearth. Firewood is stacked carefully. Meals are planned with attention to scarcity. The act of preparing itself becomes meaningful. Peeling vegetables, kneading dough, and tending fire are repetitive and calming tasks, well suited to winter's pace. Children experience the season through stories rather than abundance. Elders recount memories of Europe or earlier settlements. These recollections are not always precise, but they carry emotional truth. Christmas becomes a vessel for memory, holding fragments of many pasts at once. The natural environment shapes observance deeply. Snow muffles sound, rivers slow or freeze, travel is limited. This isolation encourages inward focus. The world feels smaller, more contained, and therefore more manageable. Christmas fits naturally into this atmosphere of pause. Over time, as generations pass, Christmas begins to take on symbolic weight beyond religion. It becomes a marker of continuity, a reminder that despite hardship, life endures. This meaning resonates strongly in a land still being shaped by uncertainty. What is striking is how little Christmas needs to survive. It does not rely on grand structures or authority. It persists through habit, memory, and seasonal rhythm. Even when discouraged or reshaped, it adapts quietly, waiting for favorable conditions. This resilience reflects its ancient origins. Long before it is named, the winter festival exists as a response to darkness. Light is gathered, shared, and protected. Community is reinforced. Time is marked gently. These patterns are deeply human. As we reflect on the long journey of Christmas, we see that it is never static. It changes with language, belief, and geography. Yet it remains recognizable because it speaks to enduring needs, warmth, meaning, and connection. In this final moment, we step back from chronology. We view Christmas not as a date, but as a rhythm. It arrives each year, asking little, offering much. It invites rest without demanding attention. It allows memory to surface and settle. Imagine now a quiet winter night, anywhere in the world. A single light glows against darkness. Inside, someone sits wrapped in warmth, listening to a familiar story or simply to the sound of fire. Outside, the season holds still. This image links ancient solstice fires, medieval halls, early American hearths, and countless unrecorded moments in between. Christmas lives in these shared experiences, passed gently from one generation to the next. We have traveled a great distance tonight. We have walked through the snows of the Stone Age, stood in the marble forums of Rome, knelt in the straw of Bethlehem, feasted in the halls of Tudor England, and shopped in the emporiums of New York. We have seen empires rise and fall. We have seen religions shift and change. We have seen customs born, suppressed, and reborn. But as we drift toward the end of our journey, let us ask, why? Why does this season persist? Why, when the world is at its coldest and darkest, do we feel this undeniable pull to gather, to light fires, and to give gifts? It is because the fundamental human condition has not changed. Despite all our technology, despite our electric lights and our heated homes, we are still creatures of the sun. We still feel the ancient rhythm of the year in our blood. When the days grow short, when the shadows stretch long, a primitive instinct wakes within us. It is the instinct to huddle together. In the ancient world, the fear was that the sun would not return. Today, the fear is different. We fear loneliness. We fear the coldness of a disconnected world. We fear the darkness of the future. And so, we do what our ancestors did. We build a fortress of light. Every time you hang a bulb on a string, you are echoing the Roman lighting a wax taper to Saturn. Every time you hang a wreath on your door, you are echoing the Norsemen bringing evergreens inside to promise the return of life. Every time you give a gift to a child, you are echoing the Magi kneeling in the dust of Judea, and the anonymous generosity of St. Nicholas in Myra. The long journey of Christmas is, ultimately, a journey toward the center. It is a retreat from the harshness of the outer world into the warmth of the inner circle, the circle of the family, the circle of friends, the circle of the hearth. It is a declaration of hope. It is a defiance of the dark. As we prepare to leave this story and enter the realm of sleep, let the history dissolve. Let the dates and the names fade away. They are no longer important. What remains is the feeling. Imagine that you are standing in a quiet room. It is late at night. The house is still. Outside, the world is wrapped in a blanket of snow, deep and white and soft. The snow dampens all sound. There is no traffic, no voices, only the immense velvet silence of the winter night. In the room with you, there is a fireplace. The fire has burned down to a bed of glowing embers, deep red, pulsing gently with heat. It casts a soft, warm light across the floor. You are safe here. You are warm. You are connected to the long, unbroken chain of humanity that has sat by the fire in the dark of winter. Feel the heaviness in your eyelids. The journey is over. The work is done. The harvest is gathered. The year is complete. There is nothing left to do but rest. Visualize the timeline we have traveled as a long silver ribbon, stretching back into the dark. See it gently curling up, like a sleeping animal, settling down for the night. The Romans are sleeping in their marble city. The monks are sleeping in their stone cells. The Victorians are sleeping in their high four-poster beds. And now, it is your turn. Let your breathing slow down. Match the rhythm of the falling snow outside. Slow, steady, silent. In the silence there is peace. Not just the absence of noise, but a deep, abiding peace. A peace that has traveled 2,000 years to find you here tonight. The light of the star is watching over you. The warmth of the fire is protecting you. Drift deeper now. Deeper into the comfort of the blankets. Deeper into the history of sleep. The seasons turn. The sun will return. But for now, the darkness is a friend. It is a curtain drawn around you to keep you safe. Good night to the old gods. Good night to the kings and the peasants. Good night to the ringing bells. Sleep now. Drift. Dream. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.